The last thing I remembered was turning around in our kitchen. Then came the impact. Sharp, sudden, the world tilted sideways as I fell. My head hit the marble counter on the way down. After that, nothing but darkness. When I finally opened my eyes, I didn't know where I was. White ceiling, beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic. My head throbbed with pain I'd never felt before. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy and wrong. A nurse appeared above me, her face startled. She pressed a button and said something I couldn't quite hear. My mouth felt dry. My thoughts were foggy. I blinked slowly, trying to understand. Hospital. I was in a hospital. But why? How long had I been here? I tried to speak, but only a croak came out. The nurse touched my shoulder gently. Don't try to talk yet. You're safe now. The doctor is coming. Safe. The word felt strange. Why wouldn't I be safe? Then fragments started coming back. The kitchen, turning around, someone behind me. The blow. My name is Adrianna Cole. I'm 32 years old. At least I was 32 when everything happened. Now I wasn't sure what day it was or how much time had passed. Before this moment in the hospital bed, I had been living what I thought was a good life. I owned a successful marketing agency in Seattle. My company, Cole Creative, had landed major clients over 5 years. I'd worked hard, building it from nothing. The business made good money, very good money. Last year alone, I'd cleared over $1 million in profit. I'd saved carefully, invested wisely. My accounts held $1.7 million. My marriage to Keith had lasted 4 years. We met at a business conference where he sold software solutions. He was charming, confident, and ambitious. We'd bought a nice house in Bellevue. We talked about starting a family. Everything seemed perfect on the surface. I never imagined I'd end up here, in a hospital bed, struggling to remember how I got here. The doctor came in within minutes. He was older, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He introduced himself as Dr. Morrison, but I immediately forgot his name. My brain felt slow, like trying to run through deep water. He shined a light in my eyes and asked me questions. What's your name? Where do you live? What year is it? I answered slowly. Some answers came easily. Others took longer to find in my foggy mind. Mrs. Cole, you've been unconscious for 11 days, he said carefully. You suffered a severe traumatic brain injury. We weren't sure when or if you'd wake up. 11 days, almost 2 weeks of my life gone. What happened? I managed to whisper. The doctor exchanged glances with the nurse. There was an incident at your home. The police are involved. I'll let them know you're awake. Police. The word sent ice through my veins. Something was very wrong. The fragments in my memory began sharpening. The kitchen, Keith behind me, the sudden violence. No, it couldn't be. They moved me to a private room later that day. My sister Bryn arrived within an hour of being called. She burst through the door with tears streaming down her face. Oh my God, Addie, oh my God. She hugged me carefully like I might break. Maybe I would. I felt broken. What happened? I asked her. Tell me everything. Bryn sat in the chair beside my bed, holding my hand. Her face was tight with anger I'd rarely seen. That bastard Keith attacked you, she said. The neighbors heard you scream. By the time they called 911 and police arrived, you were unconscious on the kitchen floor, bleeding from your head. Keith was gone. The words felt unreal. Keith, my husband, he'd hit me. He'd left me there to die. Why? The question came out broken. Bryn's jaw tightened. Money, he cleaned out your accounts before he ran. All of it, Addie. The business accounts, your personal savings, everything. $1.7 million gone. The police detective came that evening. Her name was Detective Angela Reeves. She was in her 40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat down and pulled out a notebook. Mrs. Cole, I'm glad you're awake. We've been investigating your case since the incident. Can you tell me what you remember? I told her about the kitchen. Turning around, the blow, everything going dark. I didn't see his face, I admitted. But Bryn said the neighbors heard me scream. Detective Reeves nodded. Your neighbor, Mr. Patterson, heard shouting, then a scream, then silence. He called 911 immediately. When officers arrived, they found you alone and unresponsive. The back door was open. Your husband, Keith, was nowhere to be found. She paused. We found blood on the marble counter edge and on the floor, consistent with your injury. We also found Keith's fingerprints on a wine bottle near you. We believe he used it as a weapon. My stomach turned. A wine bottle. He'd hit me with a wine bottle. Detective Reeves continued. We started investigating Keith immediately. What we found was concerning. 3 days before the attack, he made large transfers from your business accounts to an offshore account, then from your personal savings. Over the course of 72 hours, he moved $1.7 million. I felt numb, but those accounts needed my authorization. He had access to your passwords, Detective Reeves said. We found evidence he'd been planning this for months. Installing keylogging software on your computer, copying documents, creating false authorizations with digital signatures. Keith had been planning to rob me, and when I discovered it, he'd tried to kill me. Where is he now? I asked. We don't know yet, the detective admitted. He used a fake passport to fly to the Cayman Islands the day after the attack. From there, the trail goes cold. But Mrs. Cole, I promise you, we will find him. After she left, I lay there staring at the ceiling. 11 days lost. My money stolen. My husband a violent criminal. Bryn stayed with me that first night. She slept in the chair beside my bed, refusing to leave. I was grateful. The darkness felt different now, dangerous. I kept drifting in and out of sleep, fragments of memories surfacing. Keith asking about my business accounts. Keith suggesting we combine our finances. Keith insisting I write down my passwords in case of emergency. All the red flags I'd missed. I should have known, I whispered in the dark. Bryn's hand found mine. Don't do that. Don't blame yourself. He's a con artist, Addie, a criminal. This isn't on you. But it felt like it was. I'd trusted him completely, let him into every part of my life, given him access to everything I'd built, and he'd used it all to destroy me. The next morning, my business partner, Troy, visited. His face was pale with shock. Adrianna, thank God you're okay. We've been running the company while you've been out, but there's something you need to know. Troy sat down heavily. Keith didn't just steal from your personal accounts. He got into the business accounts, too. He transferred almost all of our operating capital before anyone caught it. We have maybe 30,000 left, not enough to make payroll next week. My heart sank. Cole Creative employed 12 people, people with families, people who depended on those paychecks. Our clients are getting nervous, Troy continued. Word got out about what happened. Some are threatening to pull their contracts. They're worried about stability. Everything I'd built over 5 years was crumbling, because of Keith, because I'd trusted him. We'll figure it out, I said, though I had no idea how. I'm not letting him destroy this company. Troy nodded, but doubt clouded his eyes. After he left, I asked the nurse for my phone. They'd been keeping it charged for me. When I turned it on, I had hundreds of messages, clients, employees, friends, the press. Everyone wanted to know what happened. I ignored them all and opened my banking app. The accounts were empty, every single one. My business operating account showed a balance of $28,000. My personal checking account, which usually held around $50,000 for expenses, was at zero. My savings account, which had contained over $1 million, was completely drained. My investment accounts had been liquidated and transferred out. Years of work gone, I felt sick. But as I stared at the numbers, something changed inside me. The shock was fading. The fog was clearing, and underneath it all, I felt something else rising. Anger, cold, clear anger. Keith thought he'd won. He'd stolen my money, tried to kill me, and run away to some tropical paradise. He probably thought I'd never wake up. That even if I did, I'd be too broken to fight back. He was wrong. I pressed the call button. When the nurse came in, I asked for Detective Reeves' number. Then I called Troy back. Get everyone together, I told him. Emergency meeting tomorrow. Virtual. I'll call in from here. That night, I couldn't sleep. My head still ached, but my mind was sharp now, focused. I started making lists on my phone. Everything I knew about Keith, where he might go, who he knew, what mistakes he might make. Keith wasn't as smart as he thought. He was impulsive, overconfident. He'd leave tracks. I also started documenting everything I could remember about our finances. Every account, every password he might have gotten, every transaction I could recall. Detective Reeves had said they'd find him, but I wasn't going to sit around waiting. By morning, I had 3 pages of notes. Bryn woke up in her chair, stretching and yawning. You're up early, she said. I didn't really sleep. I showed her my phone. I'm not just going to recover, I'm going to get my money back, and I'm going to make sure Keith pays for what he did. Bryn read through my notes, her expression shifting from concern to understanding. What do you need me to do? The company meeting happened at 10 in the morning. My laptop balanced on the rolling table over my hospital bed. All 12 employees joined the video call, plus Troy. Their faces filled the screen, worried and uncertain. First, I want to say I'm okay, I started. I'm awake, I'm recovering, and I'm not going anywhere. Second, I know you've all heard about what happened, about the money. I paused, making eye contact through the camera with each person. Keith stole from us. From me personally and from this company. But Cole Creative is not done. We've built something strong here. We have amazing clients and amazing people. I'm not letting one criminal destroy that. Troy spoke up. Adrianna, with respect, we have a cash flow problem. Payroll is due in 5 days without operating capital. I know, I interrupted. Which is why I'm implementing emergency measures. I'm taking zero salary until we recover. I'm also reaching out to our 3 biggest clients today to request advance payments on upcoming projects. That should cover payroll and basic operations for the next 2 months. The team looked relieved but still worried. What about long-term? Asked Simone, our lead designer. I'm working with investigators to track down the stolen money. I'm also exploring legal options to freeze any accounts Keith might try to access. And I'm documenting everything for insurance claims and potential recovery. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was something. After the meeting ended, I immediately called our 3 biggest clients. The conversations were humbling. I had to explain what happened, admit the theft, and ask for help. 2 of the 3 agreed to advance payments immediately. The third hesitated but agreed after I offered a discount. By noon, I'd secured enough funding to keep the company running for 60 days. It felt like a small victory. But 60 days wasn't much time. I needed to move faster. I called Detective Reeves. I want to hire a private investigator, I told her. Someone who specializes in financial crimes and international cases. She was quiet for a moment. That's your right, Mrs. Cole, but coordinate with me. We don't want to interfere with each other's investigations. Detective Reeves gave me 3 names. I researched all of them from my hospital bed. The third one, Warren Hughes, had an impressive track record. Former FBI agent specializing in white-collar crime and offshore money laundering. He'd recovered millions for clients in cases similar to mine. I called him that afternoon. Mr. Hughes, my name is Adrianna Cole. My husband stole $1.7 million from me and fled the country. I need your help getting it back. His voice was calm and professional. I'm familiar with your case, Mrs. Cole. I've been following it in the news. I'd be interested in taking it on. My fee is 15% of whatever we recover, plus expenses. 15% of $1.7 million was over $250,000, but 0% of nothing was still nothing. When can we start? Warren arrived at the hospital the next morning. He was in his 50s, fit, with gray hair and sharp, calculating eyes. He brought a laptop and several folders. He got straight to business. I've already started preliminary research, Warren said, opening his laptop. Keith Cole used a fake passport under the name Keith Morrison to fly to Grand Cayman. He stayed at the Ritz-Carlton for 3 nights. During that time, he made several large cash withdrawals from a local bank. Then he disappeared. Where did he go? Warren pulled up a map. My sources indicate he flew to Belize under a different false identity. From there, possibly to Costa Rica. These are popular destinations for people trying to hide with stolen money. He clicked through several documents. The offshore accounts he transferred your money to are in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. Both jurisdictions have strong banking privacy laws. But they also cooperate with law enforcement in cases of proven criminal activity. So we can get it back, Warren met my eyes. Possibly. It will take time, legal pressure, and documentation. The more evidence we have of the theft and his criminal intent, the stronger our case for asset recovery. I showed him my 3 pages of notes. Will this help? Warren read through everything carefully. This is very good, Mrs. Cole, very thorough. This gives us starting points. Over the next hour, he asked me hundreds of questions about Keith's background, his family, his friends, his habits, his weaknesses, everything I could remember. He's arrogant, I said. He always thought he was the smartest person in the room. He'd take risks because he never believed he'd get caught. Warren nodded, making notes. Arrogance is good. It makes people sloppy. He showed me a photo on his screen. Do you recognize this woman? I stared at the picture. Blonde hair, mid-20s, attractive. She looked vaguely familiar. Maybe, I'm not sure. Her name is Skylar Bennett. She was Keith's ex-girlfriend before you. They dated for 2 years. According to my research, they reconnected on social media about 8 months ago. My stomach dropped. You think they planned this together? I think it's very possible Keith didn't act alone. Skylar has a criminal record. Fraud, identity theft. She served 18 months in prison 3 years ago. Suddenly, everything made more sense. Keith hadn't just spontaneously decided to rob me. He'd been planning it with his criminal ex-girlfriend for months. They'd probably been laughing about it together, about how stupid I was, how easy I was to fool. The anger burned hotter now. Find them both, I told Warren. Whatever it takes. He nodded. I have contacts in Belize and Costa Rica. I'm already working that angle. I'm also working with banking contacts to trace the money transfers. These things take time, but we'll find them. After Warren left, I sat in the hospital bed, my mind racing. I'd been released from the ICU, but they wanted to keep me for observation another few days. My head injury was serious. I needed rest, but resting felt impossible. That evening, Bryn brought my laptop from home. I figured you'd want to work, she said. I did. I spent the next 3 hours going through business emails, making plans, solving problems. Staying busy kept the dark thoughts away. Detective Reeves called the next morning with news. We got a hit on one of Keith's credit cards. He used it at a restaurant in San Jose, Costa Rica 2 days ago. My heart jumped. Can you arrest him? We're working with Costa Rican authorities, but Costa Rica doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States for all crimes. It's complicated. We're pursuing it, but it might take time. Time. Everyone kept telling me these things took time. But every day that passed was another day Keith was free, living on my money. I called Warren immediately. Keith's in Costa Rica, San Jose. I heard, Warren said. I have someone on the ground there already. We're tracking him. I want to go there. Warren was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Cole, I don't think that's wise. You just woke up from a coma. You need to recover. I'm fine. The doctors say I can leave tomorrow. I'll fly to Costa Rica this weekend. Adrianna, Warren said, using my first name for the first time. Let me handle this. You being there could complicate things. But I'd made up my mind. I was done being a victim, done waiting. I was going to find Keith myself. The doctors released me on Friday, exactly 2 weeks after I'd woken up. They gave me strict instructions about rest and follow-up appointments. I nodded and agreed to everything, already planning my trip. Bryn tried to talk me out of it. Addie, you just got out of the hospital. You have a brain injury. Flying to another country to chase down your criminal husband is insane. He tried to kill me, I said quietly. He stole everything I worked for. I'm not sitting here doing nothing. Bryn sighed, recognizing the look on my face. She'd seen it before when I decided to start my business, when I decided anything important. Fine, but I'm coming with you. We flew to San Jose on Sunday. Warren was furious when I told him, but he couldn't stop me. He did, however, make arrangements. His contact in Costa Rica, a former police officer named Carlos, met us at the airport. Carlos was in his 40s, stocky, with a serious face. He drove us to a small hotel in the city center. Mr. Hughes told me to keep you safe and out of trouble, Carlos said in accented English. So you will stay here while I work. I want to help, I insisted. Carlos shook his head. This is not America. This is different here. You let me work. But that night, Carlos called with information. I found where Keith is staying, a rental house in the mountains outside the city. Expensive place, private. He is living with a woman matching Skylar's description. My hands shook. What now? Now I watch, I gather evidence, I coordinate with police. This takes time. There was that word again. Time. I couldn't sit in a hotel room doing nothing. The next morning, while Bryn was in the shower, I slipped out. I'd gotten the address from Carlos's notes. I called a taxi and gave the driver directions to the mountain area. It took 40 minutes to reach the winding roads leading up into the hills. The rental house was beautiful. White walls, red tile roof, surrounded by tropical gardens. Through the windows, I could see expensive furniture. My money had paid for all of this. I stayed across the road, hidden behind some trees, watching. After an hour, the front door opened. Keith stepped out. He looked different, tanned, relaxed. He was wearing expensive sunglasses and linen clothes I'd never seen before. He looked happy. Behind him came Skylar. She was laughing at something he'd said. They got into a black SUV and drove away. I felt cold fury wash through me. While I'd been in a coma fighting for my life, he'd been here, living in luxury, with her. I called Warren. I'm at the house, I just saw them. Warren's voice was sharp. Adrianna, what are you doing? You need to leave now. Not yet, I need to see. Leave now, Warren interrupted. You're compromising the investigation. If they spot you, if they get spooked, they'll run again. We'll lose them. I knew he was right. Reluctantly, I called another taxi and went back to the hotel. Bryn was furious when I returned. Are you trying to get yourself killed? She shouted. What if Keith had seen you? What if he'd done something? I didn't have a good answer. I'd acted on emotion, not logic. That night, Carlos came to the hotel with Detective Reeves on a video call. They'd coordinated with Costa Rican police. They had enough evidence now to make arrests. Tomorrow morning, Detective Reeves said. Costa Rican authorities will arrest Keith and Skylar on fraud charges. We have documentation of the theft, the false passport, everything. They'll be held while we pursue extradition." "What about my money?" I asked. Warren answered. "I've worked with banking investigators. We've traced most of the 1.7 million. It's spread across 4 accounts in 3 countries. With the arrests and criminal charges, we can freeze those accounts and begin recovery proceedings." "How long will that take?" "Months," Warren admitted. "Maybe longer, but we'll get most of it back." The next morning, Carlos called at 6 a.m. "It's happening now." He sent a video feed from his phone. Costa Rican police surrounded the rental house. They knocked on the door, shouting in Spanish. Then the door opened and officers rushed inside. Within minutes, they brought Keith out in handcuffs. His face was pale, shocked. The arrogance was gone. Skylar came next, also handcuffed, crying and screaming. I watched through the phone screen, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. "Got them," Carlos said simply. Detective Reeves called an hour later. "Keith Cole and Skylar Bennett are in custody. They're being processed now. Extradition paperwork is already filed. This is going to be a long legal process, but Adrianna, we got them." I closed my eyes, feeling something release in my chest. "Thank you." Over the next few days, everything moved quickly. Keith and Skylar were formally charged in Costa Rica while extradition was processed. Warren worked with international banking authorities to freeze all the accounts Keith had accessed. The recovery process began. Bryn and I flew back to Seattle the following week. I'd missed 3 weeks of work total. The company had survived, barely, thanks to Troy and the team's hard work. Our clients had mostly stayed loyal. I threw myself back into work with intensity that worried Bryn, but working helped. It gave me purpose beyond revenge. It reminded me who I was beyond being Keith's victim. Warren called regularly with updates. The money recovery was proceeding slowly but steadily. Switzerland released nearly $800,000 after confirming the funds were stolen. The Cayman accounts were more complicated, but progress was being made. Keith and Skylar both faced charges in multiple countries. Their attorneys tried to fight extradition, but the evidence was overwhelming. 4 months after waking from my coma, Keith was extradited back to the United States. He was charged with attempted murder, theft, wire fraud, and a dozen other crimes. His bail was set at $2 million, which he couldn't pay since all his stolen money was frozen. He sat in jail awaiting trial. The trial happened 8 months after the attack. I testified about everything. The theft, the attack, waking up in the hospital, finding out everything was gone. Keith's attorney tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, that the money transfer was a mistake, that the attack was an accident. The jury didn't believe him. The evidence was too clear. The keylogging software, the fake passports, the offshore accounts, running to Costa Rica, all of it proved planning and criminal intent. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. They found Keith guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison, no parole eligibility for at least 15 years. Skylar, who had cooperated with prosecutors, got 12 years. As Keith was led away in handcuffs, he looked at me one final time. I met his eyes without flinching. He'd tried to destroy me. Instead, he'd destroyed himself. By the time of sentencing, Warren had recovered $1.4 million of the stolen money. The remaining $300,000 was still tied up in legal proceedings, but expected to be recovered. 1 year after waking from that coma, I stood in my office at Cole Creative. The company had survived. We'd grown, actually. Added 5 new employees. Landed our biggest client ever. My bank accounts were restored. My life was rebuilt. Better than before in many ways. The experience had changed me. Made me harder in some ways, but also clearer about what mattered. I'd learned to trust my instincts, to protect what I'd built, to never let someone else control my security. Bryn visited that afternoon with coffee. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Honestly, good, really good," she smiled. "You're incredible, you know that. Most people wouldn't have survived what you went through, literally or figuratively." I thought about that night in the kitchen, the blow, the darkness, waking up to find everything gone. "I think Keith made one critical mistake," I said. "What's that?" "He assumed I'd stay down, that I'd be too broken to fight back." I looked out the window at the Seattle skyline. "He underestimated me. A lot of people do." Bryn raised her coffee cup. "Their loss.